Hey, science peeps, it's Miss CG. Yes, my Wi-Fi is back up and running, and I am finally doing the walkthrough for our project. Um, since I'm getting this walkthrough out a little late, if it takes you guys a few extra days to complete the project, no big deal. Not taking off points. I don't take off points for things being late anyway. Um, but it is a test grade. So you is really important that you guys complete this project, understand the project, and get it in as soon as possible, because then you don't want your other assignments for me or for other classes piling up. Okay, so let's start. I also want to share with you guys that it's really important that you join our live sessions and our help sessions, and when we invite you to the win periods, to join those, because if we're inviting you and you're not showing up, um, you're going to have a hard time understanding your assignments. Okay, so let's start here. I'm going to click on our Google Classroom. Right up here, again, is the project assignment. It says it's due May 12th. And, for now that we have day 1 and day 2 classes, the sort of due date is May 13th for day 2, period 8-9 classes. But like I said, I'm not taking off points for anything being late. Okay. So, what I'm going to be doing is I have a schedule here for when we meet, and I'll be putting that on all of our future hyperdocs. Okay, so the first project is a research project. So this is just using your computer to do the project, looking things up, Google searching them. So it says here, we can do a project on a bacteria or an archaea. And you know what? Being that we're in lockdown mode right now, and doing our remote learning because of the coronavirus, even though I don't say virus up here, you can, if you want to do your research project on the coronavirus, go for it. Okay, so this paper is worth 2 test grades. Don't worry about that. It is not going to be worth 2 test grades. That was when we were in the classroom. It's just going to be worth 1 test grade. The paper is to be 2 pages typed on that bacteria, that virus, that archaea. Okay. The bacteria that you're going to be researching is going to be one that affects a human, a person. Archaea really fall outside of that. They're just organisms that live on the planet in different areas. But the bacteria and the viruses that you research, I want them to be ones that have a direct impact on people, or on either health wise or in some other way. Okay, so the paper is going to include a picture. So that's the first thing you're going to put. So you're going to have your title at the top, title your project, um, you know, um, the coronavirus, or water bears in real life. Give it some kind of cool title, put your name, put your period on it, and then have a picture of your bacteria, archaea, or virus. So then I just want you to label a couple of parts of the organism. So, when you look at pictures, you're probably not going to see all the little organelles, but you will see the outer layer, the cell membrane. If it's a plant cell, it's a cell wall and a cell membrane. So please, if you could, just like draw a little arrow on the doc. That's in the drawing features. When you do that, you can, let's see here, you can hit insert, and then let's see here, we're going to, let's see where this is. All right, so it's going to be insert, and it's going to be chart. Oh no, it's not. Okay, so you're going to be hitting insert, drawing, and then new. And then here in your drawing, you're going to go to your line, and you're going to select a line with an arrow, and you're just going to draw a line with an arrow. Okay, let's see. I want the arrow head on that side. So I'm going to take that side off. So you can see these two tell you if you want it on the left side or the right side. You can have all different kind of arrow tips there. You're going to hit save and close. And then you can move your picture around, and at the end you can write cell wall or cell membrane, and just move the arrow to that point on the picture. Okay. I'm just going to delete this part now. Okay. So, oops. All right. So then also to include is a flagellum. So a flagellum is a tail. So if we look at this picture here, okay, what we can do is you could just put your arrow pointing towards this. And this uh, organism, this single-celled organism, it has actually two tails to help it get around. But this is the flagellum right back there. So if yours has one, label it. If it doesn't, then don't. And then you would just label this outer part, like the cell membrane. Just know if it's a plant cell, make sure that outer part is called the cell wall. And if it's an animal cell, that's just going to be the cell membrane. Okay. All right. So um, there are 5 main questions for you to answer for your project. Who discovered the bacteria or the archaea or the virus? So there's a really cool documentary on Netflix right now about the coronavirus. The Chinese doctor who discovered it. There's, they have his name or whatever the bacteria is. We have lots of bacteria that live on our bodies that are good bacteria on our skin. We have bacteria that live in our intestines. I showed you a picture of that a couple of walkthroughs ago. The archaea, I showed you pictures of those. Some live in Antarctica, some live in hydrothermic vents under in the ocean. So look up that specific name of that bacteria, the virus, the archaea. Who discovered it? It could have been a team of people, or it could have been one individual that is attributed to that. And so that would just be, you could tell me who just to add some sentences. You can say who and when they discovered it, the year. Okay, when that's what the next one is. When was the bacteria discovered? So for the coronavirus, it's actually a type of SARS, but it's in the corona. Like there's a bunch of different coronaviruses. They're viruses that have what looks like a crown around them. That's why it's called coronavirus. But this one's called COVID-19, and that 19 stands for 2019. That was the year. And we can pinpoint it down to November of 2019. You can't always pinpoint it down to a month. But for this one, we were really tracking it. So you could, but if you can't find the exact date, just give me the year. And if you want to expand on that, like how, like what were the circumstances around them finding it? The story behind how the coronavirus was discovered is really interesting. Letter C says specifically where does the bacteria live on the human body, so it could be on the flesh, like the flesh-eating bacteria or the good bacteria on your skin. It could be inside of you, like the coronavirus or other bacteria. When you get like strep throat, that's a bacterial infection. And if it's an archaea, then you would do, or where does the archaea live on this planet? So tell me where specifically it can be found. What letter D is, what is the benefit? Is that bacteria, that virus, that archaea beneficial or harmful? So it's going to be, you're going to make that into a complete sentence. And then really the archaea, they more impact, we don't really come in contact with them. Water bears are one of those archaea that we experiment with. So you can add to that, does it impact the environment in any way? So for water bears, no, they don't. They're just like another creature living in mosses and plants in the woods and in moist areas. But the impact, it actually, they do have a positive impact because they help scientists understand different things. So I think I told everybody the story that the water bears were scientists, astronomers sent them into outer space, and they just saw how they reacted to the extreme temperatures in space. They ended up going into stasis, but they didn't die. And then when they came back to Earth, they came back to life. They reanimated. So that gave scientists some understanding of how they work, and maybe can we use that to help us in some way. So that would be a benefit, I think. So letter E says, what does the bacteria do to humans or for humans? So our intestinal bacteria helps us with digestion. That's why when you take an antibiotic, sometimes you get intestinal issues afterward because you've killed not only the bad bacteria in your body, but the good. So you have to wait for that intestinal flora, they call it, to come back. And there could be a virus or a bacteria that is harmful to the environment. Like with the coronavirus, they found it in bats. It originated, well, I want to say it didn't originate in bats, but the story with the bats is, and I don't want bats to look bad because they're not, they're very beneficial to us, but bats are a mammal. They're the only flying mammal, and they have this tremendous immune system. Bats have even been infected on purpose with the Ebola virus, and it doesn't even affect them. So their immune systems just fight it off. But here's the thing, this is why doctors say don't take too many antibiotics. When you start fighting these bacteria and these viruses, they want to survive. So what they do is they start to mutate, and we're going into our next unit, and we're going to soon be talking about mutations. But they mutate to become stronger. So these viruses inside the bats are trying to become stronger so it can get through the bat's immune system, but they just can't because their immune system's so wonderful. So now, when people go into the forest, into the woods, into the caves where these bats live, and we're cutting down the trees, so now it's bringing their environment closer to us. If they like touch the feces of the bats, because sometimes the farmers will take the bat guano and use it for their farms, and the virus is in that. Or if they catch the bats and bring them to the market where they're going to eat them, the bats get really stressed and they start it's the term that science uses. They start shedding more of the virus. So in their saliva, in their waste, they'll release even more than usual because they're so stressed. And then it might come in contact with other animals in the market. And then those animals who don't have a great immune system get it. And then those animals, if they they sell cats to eat in China, if a cat, which is what happened in 2002, it bit a person who was selling it, and that cat happened to have SARS, but a lesser strain. That person got the SARS, one of the coronaviruses from back then. But luckily, it just wasn't that powerful, that strong. This one's really strong that we're experiencing right now. So, but bats look like the bad guy, but they're not. It's just that we're going into their environment and bringing them over to us. So now we're getting infected with their viruses that don't affect them. Okay, so you can talk about that, for example. But again, all the research you do, and that was all in my own words. I've done research on the coronavirus because I wanted to learn more about it. So I looked at a lot of different sources. I took in the information, and then I put all that into my own words. And that's something that you could type. All right, so the paper should contain 2 to 3 references. So what you're going to do is you're going to write down underneath your 2 pages a paragraph, or not, I'm sorry, not a paragraph, the title of the website that you used, and then just copy and paste the URL, the website link, www. Okay, underneath the title. That's all you have to do. See the rubric below to help you, just so you know you have all your elements. So the title page, and I know I say 2 pages, now the picture is going to take up a chunk of that page. Don't make the picture like super huge, okay, because it's not going to count, but make the picture a good size so that it could be seen. Put your name, period, and date, and a picture of your virus or the bacteria or the archaea that you're researching. That's 10 points. Those 5 questions, A through E, are worth 40 points. Labeling the picture is worth 20 points. Your 2 to 3 references is worth 10 points. Grammar and mechanics. So now we're not making our paper 20-point font, okay, with super huge script and fancy script that I can't read. I want you to do 12-point font. That's what you do normally for a paper. And in Times New Roman font or something similar to it. Okay, if it's Hexavela, that's fine too. And clear of grammatical errors, that's 10 points. The promptness thing, I'm eliminating from this, so you automatically get a 10 points for this project. So don't worry about the lateness thing. All right, so that is the first project. So let's go back now to the Jello cell, I call it, or the 3D cell project. This is the second project that you can work on. Okay, now your copy um, in your Google Classroom is going to be a little different because I fixed a couple of links on here, and I added the Flipgrid link on mine. So if you want to have the corrected links, um, just click on the hyperlink, the one with all the directions, this one. This is the hyperlink. And then click on these directions on there, and it'll have the updated version. Okay. So this is, we'll talk about the Jello cell first. I don't expect you to go out to the store and buy a ton of things. I don't want you to do that. If you have these materials at home, if you have Jello at home, then go for it. The important thing first is to know what kind of cell you're going to make. Is it a plant cell or an animal cell? Because a plant cell is squarish and an animal cell is roundish. So make sure your pan is either a squarish pan or a round pan. Okay, and that's how you'll know which cell you're going to start with. I have here the recipe for how to make your Jello cell. Um, and I have to add. Okay, so you could look at this recipe here. First, what you're going to do is you're going to decide, like I just said, what are you going to do, a plant or animal cell? Now, what I want you to do is click on, if it's like, let's say you're doing the plant cell, click on this link. Now, this is my copy. So what you're going to have to do is go to File and make a copy to make your own copy so you can write in this. And you're going to tell me which item you used in your Jello cell. So your base is going to be your Jello, and you're going to have to put items in there before the Jello hardens, before you put it in the fridge to represent all your different organelles. So for example, if you're doing a plant cell, okay, we have the cell walls on the most outer side. So you could say your pan is the cell wall, and then the cell membrane could be, be creative. Maybe you want to paint the inside if it's a tin pan, okay? And you can say the brown paint, okay? That will be your cell membrane. Once you've decided all the different things, like for your nucleus, let me just do a couple more. Maybe you'll have an orange. You could slice an orange in half and put a slice of orange in there. Okay. Your nucleolus is inside the orange, so maybe it could be an olive. Okay. So on and so forth. Your DNA, easy choice is sprinkles, or you can use little beads if you have them around, or some tiny little things, and you would put those inside the nucleus. Okay. So that's what you would do. Just look around your house. You can use whatever you find. Okay. You don't have to go crazy. And then you also have to write the definition of your cell as well. Okay. I just want to delete this because I don't want you guys, when you open it, to see my crazy stuff that I wrote down. Okay. And then again, if you do the animal cell, you click on it. And same thing, you hit File and then make a copy for yourself, and then you can start editing your paper. And this is what you're going to turn in for me. So I've had some people ask me questions like, how do I turn in a document that's not on Google Classroom already? So let me use the student version. What you're going to do is you're going to hit Add or Create. You're going to go to that doc that you just created or you just made that copy of. And you're going to find it in your, I think I did the wrong thing. I did. Sorry, you're going to add or create, and then you're going to go to your Google Drive. My bad. Sorry. And then you're going to find that document that you just edited, and it should pop up. If the one that you see here, it says today, it'll be like, the most recent one, if that's all you've worked on that day. And you would just select that and hit add. That's all you have to do. Okay, to add your created document here. Anytime you want to add something on here for me to look at, that's what you do. You hit add or create. You already started doing it. Go to your Google Drive, find the file, and then just hit add. That's it. Okay, let's go back to the Jello cell. Now, you don't have to do just the Jello cell. It could be any kind of 3D cell, 3D model. We've seen, I'm going to show you some pictures here. I mean, some students, but this is when we were able to go to the store more easily, made them out of styrofoam balls and like cut piece, like a wedge out of it and added things. This looks like this is just made out of some kind of foam material. This is out of poster board material. This one, they just had a pan and they painted the cell wall is the tin pan, the cell membrane is that blue. And then they just had a construction paper made, and like it looks like they use beads here and cotton balls here for that one. All right, that was another version of a 3D cell. And this one's on paper. So you can just get a piece of paper, a piece of construction paper, and they just drew in their cell membrane. They used other pieces of construction paper and overlaid it. So they did a circular piece of brown paper for the cytoplasm. Um, this pink is the nucleus. This little thing in here is the nucleolus. These little buttons are the ribosomes. So that's another version of a 3D cell. Okay, I'm not expecting you to go out and buy a lot of materials. The other thing I'm going to talk about is you have to label all the parts, just like you see here. So after you've decided on your chart here what you're going to use, I want you to get some kind of a label. So toothpick and glue or tape a little piece of paper, like to make it like a little flag. If you want, it's like they did here. These people, the student just did a label and laid it and did an arrow next to it. Okay, so that you can do too. Now here's the other thing. You have to do a Flipgrid recording because you're going to tell me about your project. So I already have the link here for you. It's down here and it's also up here. So you just click on the Flipgrid recording, the Flipgrid link. You're going to, I'm going to actually log out so I can show you. Okay. Click on it. You're going to log in with Google. You're going to select your names. I'm going to sign in as the student on the student side. Okay. And it takes you right there to the cells project. Okay. And all you have to do is you just hit the plus and you start recording and you just talk about your project. It's as easy as that. I have it on moderated, which means only I get to see it until I release it. And I'm probably not going to release it. I'll just be looking at them myself. Okay. So, but that's it. You just hit plus, your camera turns on and you start talking. Okay. So have fun with that. If you've used Flipgrid before, you'll know it. And if not, you'll learn something new. All right, so the final project I'm going to talk about is the Cell City poster. So this is an example right here of one of the posters. What you're doing is you're creating an analogy. A cell is like a school. A cell is like a grocery store. A cell is like a town. Okay. So you're first going to decide if you're doing a plant or animal cell. You're going to think of an analogy. Now in this picture, it shows, and what you do is you label like the city hall where all the decisions are made for the town. That's the nucleus. So you can see here, they labeled it the city hall, and they told me here that it's the nucleus, and so on and so forth. Here's a factory. Okay, it's hard to see what they labeled it, but a factory creates things. If you have a supermarket in your town, that supermarket would be your mitochondria because that's where you get your food. Okay, so you would label it store, supermarket, and then in parentheses, you would write mitochondria. So just know for your poster, you have to tell me what that object is and then which organelle it's representing. So you can read these directions. Here's some other ideas. So you have to choose, make sure you're including all the organelles in there. I have a procedure for you, steps for you to follow so that you know that you're doing it correctly. Okay, steps 1 through 8. You're going to select your analogy. A cell is like a school, a supermarket. Select the type of cell you're going to be using. If it's a plant cell, it's rectangular. Animal cells, round. You're going to complete the chart down below. So on this, you can do a couple of things. You can just hit File and make a copy and then start filling in the chart that I'm about to show you. Or you can copy and paste what's on the second page and make a separate document and then attach it to Google Classroom, whatever you want to do. It's whatever you're most comfortable with, okay? But this is already in your Google Classroom. So that might be, just easier to do, just to type in here. All right, so now you're going to make a rough draft. So don't start drawing on your poster right away. You got to know what you're going to draw. So on a piece of loose leaf, piece of paper, draw a rough draft, a sketch of your poster, and that includes all the organelles. Some people were saying, I don't have poster paper. That's fine. You can tape a couple pieces of construction paper together. You can just do it on one piece of construction paper, but as long as you got to take a picture of it for me so I can see it. Um, so let's see here. You're going to label the parts on your poster paper, and you're also going to tell me what the analogy is. So if it's City Hall, you're going to put in parentheses, okay, that's the nucleus. Supermarket, in parentheses, the mitochondria, things like that. Okay. Um, Make sure you have your name on it, a title for it. And let me just show you, this is the rubric. You can read that. Don't worry about the late points. So here is this is what you fill in. My cell analogy is, and you literally type here what the analogy is. The type of cell I chose was an animal cell or a plant cell. My cell's title is, tell me the title. Okay. One thing I want to note here in blue, if it has two little stars, that is only an organelle in a plant cell. Okay. So if you're doing an animal cell, do not do cell wall. If you're doing an animal cell, do not do chloroplasts or large central vacuole. They are not in animal cells. If you're doing a plant cell, you do all those. Now, there's one organelle that has these two little arrows. This organelle is only in an animal cell. So if you're doing a plant cell, do not do lysosomes because plant cells do not have lysosomes. Okay. So you're going to tell me what your metaphor is. So the cell, let's say we're doing a plant cell, your cell wall might be, we can say, let's say we're doing what did I just say? We're doing a city, okay, or like a town. So you could say, I don't know, maybe make a gate around your town. So a gate, a fence around your town. Maybe the cell membrane would be the walkway around the town. Look, you're inventing this town. You can make your town look like whatever you want it to look like. The nucleus that tells the town what to do, that would be City Hall. Okay, so on and so forth. So you got to think of what analogies we talked about. The mitochondria could be the shopping center, the supermarket there. Okay, so come up with different ideas, and then you have to explain your metaphor. So explain the metaphor. So you're not defining the organelles, you're explaining the metaphor. So the gate is because it protects the outside of the city, something like that. Okay. The walkway, it so you could just write it outlines city. Okay. Just make some kind of it. Why is that why is the walkway your cell membrane? Okay. For the, where is it, mitochondria, you would write because it provides food for the city, things like that. Okay. So then you're going to do your poster, complete this page and turn it in when you're finished. Also email me a picture of your city poster. Okay. And this is the rubric. The city's given a descriptive name. That's here. Everything really on the second page is in the rubric. The poster's creative and colorful while plain and neat. So make sure you add color to your poster. All organelles in the below chart are represented. So if you're missing a couple, I'll be taking points off. And the Cell City data table is complete and it has appropriate, it's an appropriate metaphor. Okay. So that's it. I'm going to undo this. Those are the 3 projects. Please remember, I'm going to go back here. I want you to please remember, we are meeting, okay, for period 2-3 on Monday, May 11th at 10:50. I might show the walkthrough again if people are questioning what to do, or I might just talk to you, do a Q&A for 2 sessions, and then we meet at 11:40. So bring your questions. Period 5, we're meeting at 1:20 on May 11th. Okay, so bring your questions for your project. And then on May 12th, period 6, we're meeting again at 10 o'clock. And then period 8-9, we're meeting twice, 11:40 to talk about the project, and then at 12:30 for questions about the project. I'm getting a lot of emails about questions, so please remember to come to this. if you are still unsure about what to do. Okay, that's all I have. I know it was long, but usually the project descriptions are long. So have fun with it. That's the most important thing. Learn something, and I can't wait to see your projects. CG out.